Okay, so I just finished watching episode 622. My original idea was going to be to make this a 600 video, but we're so far past that now. I'm going to put this between 622 and 623 just so it makes more sense. These are my current thoughts in because Luffy has a plan. He's going to beat all four emperors. And I think other people who are challengers, and once he's defeated all of them, he'll become king of the world, king of the pirates. That's his plan. It's rudimentary, it's meager, but that's his plan. So, instantly it occurred to me, wouldn't it be fun to try to anticipate in what order does this happen? And what I'll do is, I don't really give a shit. Like we can go back later and score it if we want to. Like if, for instance, let's say, you can see KDO is the first one I think is going to happen, right? Let's say he is the first one. Okay, so that should be 5 points. Got to have the placement correct. Then, if somebody is, whoever's directly above him is the next person Luffy fights, another 5 points. If it's not, but he does eventually fight that person, maybe it should be 3 points. And then maybe it's 1 point. Say KDO is not till later, so he completely misses a board. Like you would get no points. You get 1 point just for having his name. I mean, these are obvious, right? Like I said, I don't give a shit. I'm never going to keep score. But if you want to keep score at home, we can do this. 1 point for just having the name correct. And then we can say -1 for having a name on here that he never fights. Right? So, like, if he never fights KDO, for instance, personally fights him, doesn't have to defeat him. Personally fights him. If he never personally fights him, then maybe a minus point. Whatever. Like I said, I don't care. But this is what I think. Okay, so you notice he's in red. I'm going to put the Emperors in red. The Navy will be blue. And then anybody else right now, I think it's just Warlords. There's one non-Warlord on my list. The rest of them will be just black. So that's my color coding. Just so we can keep track of everything. I think I've got all the names spelled correctly. Let me know if I don't. But yeah, I think the next person he's going to fight will not be Doflamingo. It'll be KDO. I think they're going to miss Doflamingo. They're going to leave the island. He's going to show up after the fact. That's why they had him so far away. That's why I have him walking instead of any other faster transport, if there is such a thing. Transportation fruit, for instance. Somebody has that. I can't remember who. Flying, really fast flying. He doesn't have that. So I think he's going to show up the island too late. We're going to miss each other, right? So don't fight. Luffy and maybe just Law, the two of them by themselves, will go off. And what might be interesting is if the rest of the Straw Hats have their own adventure, doing something else. And because I don't know if the rest of them can help. I would bring them. I'm just saying, I think what could happen, right? A buddy comedy with just the two of them would come back kind of interesting. But I think they're going to fight KDO next. Okay, so that's what I think. All right, next. So I think he will catch up with them after they've defeated KDO. Because he'll be keeping track of shit. Oh, this is where they are. Let me go take care of this business. And then they're going to get murked. Doflamingo will get murked. Right? He's just a warlord. So, imagine that. Just a warlord. The warlords are pretty awesome. But, I'm just saying. All right, next up. Well, we've got a third party here who's going to, eventually the Navy's going to catch on. And they're going to become involved. And we have somebody who can travel fast as light. So he'll be the first one to encounter Luffy and Law. And I think it's going to be Light Bitch. And Luffy can fight him now. So maybe, even Law can fight him. I think so. I don't know if any of your switching shenanigans would work on somebody like him. But, for instance, could he have removed Clown College's heart? Probably not. Could he even change personalities? Probably not. I know there's been some pushback. People don't think that he's not switching brains and eyeballs and voice boxes. To me, it's the only thing that makes sense. And I know it was also pointed out that the manga doesn't show color until later. Like somebody comes in and colors it later. But the original incarnation doesn't show color. So the characters don't have eye color anyway. So who knows what the intention was when this was adapted. I assume it was adapted before the color came out. And I don't even know if the author has complete control over the color. Because he's probably really busy. He doesn't have time to sign off and everything, right? Hey, do their eye colors change when they change? That could have just been an artist's idea, right? I understand all that, but I'm just saying the text I'm working with is the show. And so the primary source is the show, what's depicted on the show. Ask me anything, blogs, interviews, author statements, whatever, man. That's all secondary source as far as I'm concerned. Like if something is presented in the show and is contradicted by the author, I think we can make a command decision. What do we think's going on here, right? So, like, I mean, obviously the author is the master of his domain, and I don't think I would do that lightly. But I'm just saying, what is depicted? It makes sense to me. It adds up to me, right? Like, it may not have been the author intention. In fact, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. And I think the eye color thing is because HIG mentioned that the eye shape is different. But then you could just say maybe the pupils were switched or something. I don't know. I mean, we're getting pretty technical at that point. But it could be like nothing on the surface gets switched, including this surface eyeball. But whatever the pigmentation is, maybe it's below the surface. I don't even know. I'm not an eyeologist. Maybe that's not true. Maybe it is. I don't know. But like you switch everything except for the surface level stuff, which includes the skull, because that would change face shape, right? I'm just saying, like, it kind of adds up, right? It explains why their voices change. It explains why they have memories. It explains the eye color change. So that's my thing. Anyway, the point is, could law change people like Light Bitch or any of these Logia fruit power holders? I'm thinking probably not, but it depends on how his power works. If his power works the way I think it does, then no, you can't change him. And see, to me, that would be definitive proof that I'm wrong if we later down the road see him switch somebody who's a Logia fruit person. Now, you could say, well, then he used his hockey as he was switching. I don't know, maybe. But to me, that would be a good mark in the favor of the other theory, right? We're all just having fun here. Like, it's not that serious in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I think he's the next one. And I think, in every case, I'm going to say these people are defeated for good. Not just their asses kicked, they escape, and they come back later. So, and there's also, like, people we haven't been introduced yet to fight. Probably there's other warlords. I don't know who they are. Law is the only new warlord we know about. So I'm sure they would show up and fight at some point. So they would be in here, but I don't have that information yet. I can only go with what I have. When we get introduced to new characters, what I'll do is I'll pull this up and slot them somewhere. And then also maybe score what's happened since I first did this, and then rearrange my list at that point. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, we're just having fun. All right, so next one would be Big Mom. This has been in the works for a while. I think this is a Fishman Island situation where it's like we talk about it, we have several story arcs, and we finally get to the point. Get to the goddamn point. The point is beating her ass. So I think, he's going to dismantle that entire network. At least dismantle her. Then Mihawk. I think this is the one I feel the most shaky about. I think it's entirely possible he will never fight Mihawk. I think it's entirely possible Zoro will never fight Mihawk. I think that Mihawk could be on a completely different arc. He may not even be a warlord anymore, as far as we know. He may have gotten what he wanted out of that. He could have retired. I mean, we don't know. So I feel the most shaky about this. I feel really good about the rest of these, even the order I put them in. I mean, it is obviously open to debate. There's so many different ways all this could happen. But this is the one I have a lot of trepidation about. Like, if I was scoring it, this is one that would hand me my ass. I would lose my ass on this pick right here, I'm pretty sure. But just went with my gut here. All right, now we're down to just 4 left. Think about it. Who do you think those 4 are? I'll give you a second. You probably know 3 of them for sure. I'll be interested to see if you know the 4th one I'm picking. By the way, the 4th one is the one I think is going to be the final boss, the final big bad of the entire series. I was asked one time, who do I think that would be? I don't remember what my answer was. This is my new answer. So that's who the 4th person is, and that's the person that, is at the top of the list. Because, the list is going from down up, right? All right, here we go. Yep, that's right. I don't know how this will happen. Like, he's not going to go back to the other ocean. I assume Blackbeard will come up because emperors are getting knocked off. And he wants to maybe take their territory, add it to his own, become king of the pirates. Maybe he's looking for, at some point, I think everybody's going to have a quest. And they're all going to be looking for something. I think word's going to spread. And the final arc of the series will probably be people looking for something. The One Piece. Like, they finally have a clue in One Piece after all this time, so everybody will be looking for it. We may be at that spot at this point. Like, this could literally be episode 950 at this point when he fights Blackbeard. I could totally see that. We're at, what, 620? 622? We could be at episode 900, episode 1000, episode 1050. I think somebody said that they think it's going to go up to 1,200 episodes at this point. We could be there. All right, well, next is the final Admiral. And assuming there's not other promotions after Light Bitch gets taken out and stuff like that, like I said, there's a lot we don't know. We don't know who the third Fleet Admiral is. I think we lost 2 Fleet Admirals, didn't we? Yes, we don't know who either one of them are. They could totally come into this, right? They could be on the list somewhere. Once we find them out, I'll probably put them on the list somewhere. I don't think Luffy will fight them all, but he definitely is committed to fighting Light Bitch and Lava Boy, for sure. Because he has a personal axe around with all of them. And we're really into in-game stuff. We could be talking about episode 1100 at this point. In-game. If there's only 100 episodes left, but once we get to 1100, in-game, right? So, that you got to take out the Navy. The Navy was defeated at this point, so now you're just down to the final 2 people you got to defeat to become King of the Pirates. Obviously, the last Emperor is the last person to defeat, and that, traditionally, the traditional enemy that's been forecast for so long, this is what started this quest. He's going to end the quest, almost. He's going to almost end the quest. It's very tempting to make him the final boss. And a lot of people have told me they think that he's going to be the final boss. But I think that's too obvious. And I think that, he will start with, the whole series started with Shanks giving him the hat. And I think it could end up being something like Shanks shows up to take that back. It'll probably be the first time they've ever seen each other because they've never occupied the same space. They've never had a conversation. That's intentional by the author. He's holding out. It's going to be epic. This is, and Luffy said as much. He wants Shanks to be the last person he fights. Or at least he doesn't want him to be the first one he fights. The first Emperor. I think he'll want Shanks to be the last Emperor he fights. I think it's going to be for all the marbles, except there may be one more person, a double cross, comes after Luffy defeats Shanks. Possibly. A big betrayal, a huge plot twist. Assuming he's still alive and he's been with Luffy for most of, not all the time. Maybe not. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to join the crew or anything, but I think they will hook up to do occasional missions from here to the end. We'll see about that. I think Law is going to be the final big bad. Family betrayer, because they'll be close friends. This will parallel what happened with Usopp. It also parallels that you had a guy who seemed scary, Buggy, but was really pretty weak and ineffectual and didn't really have much impact on the plot at the very beginning of the series. And even before that, the female pirate, the very first pirate we encountered, she seemed scary at the time, she seemed powerful at the time, she wasn't shit. Not anything. And she's kind of like turned a new leaf as well. So I've been told there are parallels with the first half of the series and the second half of the series. I wonder if it's inverted, or if the parallels are in tandem. Like, the first 100 episodes of the series mirrors the first 100 episodes of the second half of the series. Or does the first 100 episodes of the series mirror the last 100 episodes of the entire series? Is it inverted? That's the question. We don't know. But if it is inverted, if we are going backwards, we're going in reverse order. We go all the way up to regular order until we get to the middle, and then we go in reverse order all the way back to the end. If we're doing that, you could draw some thematic parallels here. Because he's somebody who seemed friendly and turned out to be evil and turned out to be a problem. Because I do think he is using it. And the Smoker put that in our head. That he's taking advantage of Luffy. Why is he putting up with this level of incompetence? Why is he putting up with the silliness, the ridiculousness of this crew? Because he knows Luffy's very powerful and he's not very smart, so he's easy to use. All you have to do is suck up to him a little bit, tolerate a little bit here and there, and he's on your side and you can use him. Until we're just down to 2. And then it's Highlander rules. There can be only one. And that's when Law betrays him. And I can see that as being a huge splash page in the manga. And just like, it would obviously be a cliffhanger. If I was the author, I'd do somewhere where like Law just like rips his head off or something, does some magic on Luffy that just really messes him up. In a huge splash page at the end of the issue. And then if I was the author, I'd take 2 months off before I do another issue. Just to be a dick, right? I can see it, man. I can see it plain as day. There's so many other different ways this could all play out. I mean, Law could die in the next story arc, for all I know. He could still die in this story arc. I don't think so. This is how I think it's going to play out. Unfortunately, you can't tell me how you think it's going to play out because you're polluted with what you know what comes next. And even if you're like, well, what did I think at the time? I don't know. Can you really, if you can compartmentalize that, go for it. I can, because a writer has to be able to compartmentalize, because, a writer has 4 characters, right? 2 of them know who the killer is, and 2 of them don't know the killer, but the writer's in the head of all 4 of them. So you have to compartmentalize. When you're doing these 2 characters, you have to act like you don't know who the killer is. And you don't know that the other 2 know who the killer is, right? So you have to, as your stock in trade, you have to be able to live in a world where you can say, this is what information I have, what would my assumptions be at that point, right? So I think I could probably do it, but I don't know, man. Use your best judgment. If nothing else, is someone can laugh at later.